then also you have now the ability to network on a national basis with all of your other CCIM members. Now let's get into niche farming. First area of niche farming would be geographic, and that's what most people think of in terms of farming. They just think of a residential area that they're going to farm. First of all, the selection process. Location. Question, should you farm your own neighborhood? There are advantages here, and there are also disadvantages. The advantages would be the knowledge of the area. Of course, you know it well. You've got a vested interest in making sure property values stay up, and you're trusted by the neighbors, and also it's your comfort zone. But that comfort zone that we're talking about could also be the disadvantage, and that is staying within that comfort zone. We're going to talk just a little more about that in just a moment. Another area that you want to determine is the turnover rate for the area. You need to know the length of home ownership. In the United States, the average is somewhere between 5 to 10 years, about 7 years. But in the area that I'm in South Florida, that's not true. Based on FP&L and BellSouth statistics, the average length of home ownership in South Florida is 3.8 years. And so you need to know that information. The easiest way to do it is to contact the electric and telephone companies, and you can very easily find out. Another thing you want to find out about is the type of property that you're going to be selling. What do you feel comfortable with? Just as with commercial real estate, I wanted to do motels and hotels. Well, do you want condos, luxury homes, ranches, farms, waterfront properties, even vacation homes? Once you do that, then you've got to set your price range. Notice that I said, do you have a self-imposed limit? And there should be a question mark at the end of that. But do you have a self-imposed limit? We have a lady within our company, within the Kais company. Her name is Jean Kachik. She's one of the top real estate people in the United States, real estate salespeople in the United States. Her average sale price is $1.5 million, and she has never sold a commercial property. She strictly sells residential. Right now she has Dan Marino's home, the former quarterback for the Dolphins, for I think it's $6 or $7 million on the market. She just closed a $9 million sale. It was her listing and her sale. But the reason that I mention her is that she and I have been friends for over 20 years, and we were having a talk one time, just gabbing, and all of a sudden something hit me. And that was that not too long ago, probably about, 5 years ago, her average sale price was $300,000. And then all of a sudden, it was $1 million. And that was about 3 years ago, and now today it's $1.5 million. In fact, she won't take a listing unless it's a personal friend. She won't take a listing from someone that is under $1 million. She refers it to an associate in the office, and she takes a referral fee. She doesn't want to lower her average sale price. But we were sitting in a conference room when we were talking in the Weston office of the Kais company, and there was a glass wall in front, and looking through that, you could see the bullpen area where all the associates were. And when I said to her, how did you get into the $1 million bracket? She said, you see all those people out there? And she's pointing to the other associates in the office. And I said, yeah. She said, they're so stupid. And I said, what are you talking about? She goes, I was the same way. She said, I live in a $300,000 home. Now, this was back 5 years ago. It's probably worth a lot more today. But the point is that she had a self-imposed limit. The question is, do you? What I try to impress upon the associates that go through my training is that their license is good for any piece of real estate in the entire state of Florida at any price. And don't let anyone tell you what your price should be. You can sell $1 million properties just as easily as anybody else. And by the way, it is actually easier to sell the higher priced properties than the lower. When you're talking about a $200,000 home or less, the owners of that home need every dollar they have in it out so they can buy their next dream home. But when you get up into the $800, $900 million properties, when was the last time you saw an $800,000 handyman special? I mean, they exist, but there's not that many of them out there. When you get into that price range, the only difference, as far as you're concerned, is the amount of money you're going to be paid. On a $200,000 sale to an $800,000 sale, you're making 4 times as much commission. And it is easier to sell the $800,000 price than it is to sell a $200,000 property, simply because the buyers qualify, the houses qualify. It's an easier sale, and you make 4 times as much money. The next thing that you want to determine, is there someone in the area that you're thinking of breaking into that is totally and completely dominant? In other words, your competition in that area. There is a very easy way to become the expert and beat that person out, and that is simply to erode their base. Here's what I mean by that. Picture a subdivision where one broker is not totally dominant, but has probably 70-75% of all the listings taken in that area. Now, all of a sudden, a for sale by owner comes into the picture in that subdivision. Question, do you think that person that has 75% of all the listings in the neighborhood will call that for sale by owner? And the answer is no, they probably won't. And the reason is simply that they have in the past waited because they know that seller will call them. If they can't sell it and do want to sell, then they're going to call them because they have the majority of listings. All you have to do is go after that for sale by owner with a vengeance. And then in turn, you can pick that one up and you go after another one and another one. In a very short period of time, you're going to be the one that is dominant in the area. Another selection consideration is size. Your farm should start out with, and this is whether it's a condominium or vacation homes, whatever type of property you're talking about, should start out with 500 units and then add 100 units per month until you get to the point where you feel comfortable. Farming 1,000 properties, even with today's computerized software, things you can do and easy with contact management program, it is still going to take you roughly 15 to 20 hours per week to farm 1,000 properties. We have people that are doing it effectively at the range of 2,000 to 3,000 properties or in an area, and they're doing it very effectively. The last selection consideration that you should have is how much money do you actually have to devote to that area, and that also is going to determine the number of units that you're going to be capable of doing. Remember, mail-outs, today's postage, they can get quite expensive. So you want to determine what your budget is, lay it out in advance, and know exactly how much money you're going to be able to spend every single week. The next one that you want to deal with is spheres of influence. Create a database, but notice that it said databases here. And what I mean by that is every one of your spheres of influence is a separate database, each one of them. And you need to create a separate database in your contact management software for each of those groups. You might have one, let's say your church that you belong to. You might have an organization, the Kiwanis or another organization you belong to. You might have friends as a prior clients that you've dealt with, not real estate necessarily, but another field that you were in before. It could be relatives. Now, these people that are in these databases, don't restrict them to just your local area or even your local state. Think about all of your relatives and all the people that you know that have moved away that live anywhere in the United States. Most of our cell phones today don't have roaming charges, so you can call at no cost somebody in Wisconsin just as easily as you can call somebody right around the corner from where you live. So you want to create these databases and not restrict them to the local market. Create them in a larger sense over the entire nation. And then once you do that, you want to also create what I call a list of 50. And the list of 50 is nothing more than a sheet of paper with the phone number and the name of the person. But it's a group from within one of those databases. And then once you do that, you have the list of 50, you want to create a 5-second monologue for each group. The 5-second monologue is just an opening statement on the phone. As an example, let's say that the list that I'm dealing with, the database, are friends of mine that I've known. And let's say I just received my real estate license, and I can call somebody and say, hey, John, I just got my real estate license. If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to call. That's the end of it. You don't have to say any more. Now, at that point, if it generates a conversation, that's great. If it doesn't, that's fine too. You just put your face and your name in front of their mind so strongly that when one of these events occur, they either buy, sell, or know of someone that's going to buy or sell, they automatically think of you. Remember the E.F. Hutton motto? When E.F. Hutton talks, people listen. You want them thinking of you in that same regard.